Congressional candidate Clay Higgins, famous for his St. Landry Crime Stoppers videos, made campaign stops Monday in St. Mary Parish. A key topic, Louisiana's economic slump.
Well, many of the policies of the current administration out of Washington has manifested itself as a boot upon the throat of the oil industry, especially when you talk about restricted exploration and federal leases that are denied. You know, these oil companies, you know, the price of oil is going to go up and down. To a certain amount of that is due to the world market. Can't be controlled to a certain extent, but when the oil industry is restricted from exploration and from drilling and establishing pipelines, the network of industries that are dependent upon fossil fuel are vast. So when you cut off when you strategically cut off ways for these various industries that comprise the entire oil and gas industry, these various aspects of it, when you cut that off with EPA regulations and restricted federal leases and completely mandated levels of restriction out of Washington that just can't be met, this is why these jobs are going overseas to Brazil and to the North Atlantic and overseas to Africa and whatnot. I mean, those jobs should be here. And I do believe that the federal government is in large part responsible for what we're looking at right now as far as the loss of jobs. Real folks, real Americans struggling, losing their homes, can't find work. Bill, we got 100 million Americans that are out of work in this country that want to work. And they're going to try and tell us that we have unemployment rate under 5% because they change the rules to say that if you go so long you can't find a job, then you're no longer unemployed. This makes no sense. This is the kind of trickery and betrayal that's going on in Washington, D.C. that must be stopped. And career politicians are not going to stop it. They're the ones doing it.
Higgins' schedule called for stops in Franklin as well as at Morgan City businesses. He talked about what he's hearing from St. Mary voters.
The concerns of the people are the concerns that you and I have. First is jobs. The economy has been hit very, very hard. All of us have friends and family that are in dire straits, you know, financially because of the downturn in the oil industry. Generally, my friend, you know, we are hard-working, self-reliant people in South Louisiana. I'm born and raised in South Louisiana. We are workers. We are solid American workers. But when small businesses have mandated laws that establish parameters that they can't meet, if a small business must provide this or must provide that in order to be licensed to do business, then what they do is they cut back on their workforce or they decrease hours. So not only is the folks in the oil industry understand, you know, work goes up, work goes down, and a lot of them are very adept at kind of, you know, when there's a layoff, they're adept at getting another job. But when the entire economy suffers from policies that come out of D.C. largely that have restricted the growth of small businesses, then a guy that gets laid off from an oil industry job, and maybe it's has happened to him before, and he knows there's 4 or 5 places he can go get a job until he's hired back on, those jobs are not there. You understand? Or they've been restricted down to under 36 hours because the small company that would have let the man work 40 hours with some overtime, now they got to have him work 36 hours or less because they can't afford the federally mandated services and privileges provided to the company that's called for out of new Washington law. So it just don't make no sense, man.
Higgins' fame as the Cajun John Wayne wasn't enough to overcome a controversy over one Crime Stoppers video, which some viewed as extreme. He resigned from the sheriff's office in the aftermath.
The Gremlin Street Gang is responsible for hundreds of violent crimes, murders, armed robberies, witness intimidation, burglaries, drug trafficking, extortion, and brutal beatings. We've arrested 10 of these thugs and have warrants on 7 more. Every one of these animals is most definitely armed and dangerous. We have felony warrants for your arrest. You will be hunted. You will be tracked. And if you raise your weapon to a man like me, we'll return fire with superior fire. Man, I'll meet you on solid ground anytime, anywhere, light or heavy. Makes no difference to me. You won't walk away.
Oh, well, you know, I have probably, I would say 95% support for everything I said in every video I made came from me. It was unscripted. It was true to my heart. I spoke of the suffering of the victim, the nature of the crime, what that crime meant about our society, and the redemptive nature of the human spirit that committed the crime. I've had in the 1 year that I was a public information officer for the St. Landry Parish Sheriff's Office, a sheriff I still respect and love and admire, by the way. I had 19 felons, 18 men and one woman, turn themselves in within hours or days of their crime being featured on Crime Stoppers or their fugitive status. We ran a consistent 70 to 80% solve rate for these felonies. It's unheard of numbers, very successful. And I always spoke of the redemption or the potential for redemption for the suspect that committed the crime. So, you know, if you want to worry about baggage, knock yourself out, I don't see any. A large part of my message is always about redemption. And by the way, this is what our country needs. Financially, spiritually, morally, ethically, compassionately. This is what our country needs.